Welcome to the HFY Galaxy Tales. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a new story from HFY Galaxy Tales. Where humanity always finds a way. Feed my children. Human and I'll labor in your fields. The stranger in the dust. The sun burned like fire in the sky. It was the kind of heat that made the air dance and the land crack. Dry soil crumbled under the boots of Evan Holt, the last human farmer in this forgotten corner of the colony. The fields around him were yellow and weak. The irrigation pipes hissed only dust. Every shovel of dirt felt heavier than the last. He stopped for a moment, wiping sweat from his forehead. His water canteen was almost empty. He had to save it for later. The crops were dying, and so was hope. It had been 3 years since the supply ships stopped coming. Out here, on the far edge of human territory, survival meant doing everything yourself. Evan was used to that. He was a soldier once, before the war ended and the peace treaties drew new borders, but that peace was thin as paper. The aliens, the Saurians, had been enemies for as long as he could remember. That's why he froze when he saw her. Through the shimmering heat, a shape appeared. At first, he thought it was a trick of the light. Then it grew clear, a tall figure, walking slowly toward him across the dusty plain. Her steps were unsteady, but her head stayed high. Her skin was pale blue, faintly glowing in the sunlight. So Ryan. Every muscle in Evan's body tensed. He reached for the old rifle leaning against the fence post. The war had taught him to never trust her kind. But then he saw the two smaller figures clinging to her. Children, thin, shaking, and barely able to walk. Their large dark eyes stared at him, not with hate but with hunger. They stopped a few meters away. The woman's clothes were torn and dusty. Her breathing was heavy, but her voice was calm. "I will work your fields, human," she said. Her accent thick but clear. "Just feed my hungry children." Evan's hands tightened on the rifle. This made no sense. The Saurians had their own lands, their own farms. What was she doing here, deep inside human territory? And why come to him, a stranger? "I don't have food to spare," Evan said flatly. "You should turn back." Her eyes didn't leave his. "If we turn back, they will die." She glanced down at the children, who stood silent but swaying in the heat. "I can work. I can make your land grow. Just let them eat." Evan studied her face. There was no fear there, only desperation. And something else, pride. She was clearly not used to begging. The wind picked up, carrying the smell of dry earth. Somewhere far away, a low rumble echoed. Evan glanced to the horizon and saw a dark shimmer in the distance. For a moment, he thought it was a dust storm, but storms didn't move like that. "What's out there?" he asked. Her eyes flicked toward the horizon, then back to him. "Death," she said simply. "They are coming. And when they come, there will be no land to grow anything." Evan frowned. "Who's coming?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she reached into a cloth bundle slung across her back. She took out a small dull metal tool, alien design. She held it up. "Let me work. I can show you how to make this soil live again. In return, you feed them." Evan felt the weight of the silence between them. His mind screamed at him to send her away. She could be lying. Maybe this was some Saurian trick. The war had been full of them, but the children's eyes were hollow, their small hands gripping their mother's clothes. And the way she stood, swaying in the heat but refusing to kneel, reminded him of something of soldiers who refused to surrender, even when they were beaten. Finally, he lowered the rifle. "You can stay. For one meal," he said. "After that, we'll see." The woman gave a single, sharp nod, as if sealing a deal. She led her children to the shade of the barn, where Evan brought out a small pot of boiled grain and a flask of water. The children ate without looking up, their small shoulders relaxing for the first time. Evan leaned against the wall, watching her. She didn't eat until both children had finished. Only then did she take a small sip of water. "You said something is coming," Evan said at last. "What is it?" She met his eyes. "The burners," she said. The name meant nothing to him, but the way she said it made his skin prickle. "They destroyed my village," she continued. "They burn everything, the fields, the homes, the people. We ran for days to get here." She looked toward the horizon again. "And now, they follow." Evan felt the air grow heavier. He looked at the horizon once more. The shimmer was still there, a crawling shadow under the hot sun. He didn't believe in luck. Out here, survival was about work, skill, and sometimes making hard choices. But something told him that letting her stay in for one night was Going to change everything. As the sun dipped lower, painting the sky red. The shadow on the horizon seemed to move closer, and far away, from deep in the wasteland, came the sound again, a low, mechanical growl, like the breath of something not quite alive. Fields of trust and shadows of fear. Morning came with a pale orange light over the dry fields. Evan Holt was already outside, checking the irrigation pipes. The air was cooler now, but the heat would return soon enough. The Saurian woman she had told him her name was Kara was already working. She moved like she had been farming here her whole life, even though her tools were alien and strange. She dug deep into the dry soil with a curved metal claw, breaking the hard crust and mixing in something from a small pouch. Evan watched from a distance, pretending to focus on his own work. Her children sat under the barn roof, quietly peeling old grain husks for the animals. "You're wasting that powder," Evan called out. "The soil here is dead." Kara didn't stop digging. "It is not dead, it is sleeping. You humans pull too much from the land and give nothing back." She sprinkled more of the fine, silver dust into the dirt. "This will wake it." Evan shook his head. "We don't have the water for experiments." "You will," Kara said without looking up. "If you trust me." Trust. That word was heavy between them. It had only been a day since she arrived, but already Evan knew she wasn't just any refugee. The way she studied the land, the way her eyes scanned the horizon every few minutes, it was like she was preparing for something. Later, they worked, side by side. She showed him how to angle the furrows to catch the morning dew. She used scraps of broken metal to build small wind traps that funneled cool air into the roots. Evan had never seen anything like it. At midday, they sat in the shade. The children shared a small loaf of bread Evan had baked weeks ago. He caught Kara watching the horizon again. "You keep looking out there," he said. "Still worried about your burners?" She nodded slowly. "They move at night. By day they rest, feeding on the heat in the ground. When they come, they do not stop. They burn everything, plant, stone, bone. There is no reason, no warning." Evan frowned. "Machines, or soldiers?" "Machines," she said softly. "But not like yours. They grow like metal weeds. They strip the land, then leave only black glass behind." Evan didn't like the way her voice went distant, like she was remembering something she wished she could forget. "You said they destroyed your village," he said. She nodded once. "I buried my husband in the ashes before I ran." Her eyes flicked to her children. "We have been running ever since." The quiet between them stretched. Evan had seen war, but not like that. He thought about his rifle inside the house, about the few bullets left. If these burners were real, they would need more than a rifle. That evening, as the sun set, a faint glow lit the far horizon, not the red of sunset, but a strange pulsing orange. Kara saw it too. She stood still, her body tense. "They are closer," she whispered. Evan grabbed his old binoculars and peered into the distance. At first, he saw nothing but shimmering air. Then movement, slow, crawling shapes that seemed to roll and twist. At the same time, the ground around them shimmered, as if it was melting. He lowered the binoculars. "We still have time," he said, trying to convince himself as much as her. But Kara shook her head. "They are faster than you think." That night, Evan couldn't sleep. He sat at the table, cleaning his rifle and checking the old solar batteries. Outside, the land was quiet, but it was the kind of quiet that felt like it was holding its breath. In the barn, Kara's children slept close together. Kara herself stayed awake, sitting just inside the doorway with her strange alien tool across her lap. Her eyes were fixed on the dark horizon. Near midnight, a sound reached them but growing, a deep mechanical hum that rose and fell like breathing. Evan looked at Kara. She was already standing. "They are coming sooner than I thought," she said, and then, far away, a sudden flash lit the night, followed by the low thunder of an explosion. The ground trembled under their feet. Kara's voice was calm, but her eyes burned. "Tomorrow, human, you will have to decide if you fight with me, or die with your fields." Fire, choice, and humanity's edge. The first light of morning spilled over the fields, but it brought no peace. From the horizon came a glow, brighter than the rising sun, and it was moving. Evan stood in the doorway of his farmhouse, rifle in hand. Kara was already outside, her children hidden deep in the root cellar under the barn. She had tied strips of cloth around her arms, her alien tool hanging at her side. "They're close," she said without turning. Evan didn't answer. He could hear them now, a steady, grinding hum, mixed with a sound like metal scraping against stone. It grew louder every second. Then he saw them. At first, they looked like black, twisted towers sliding across the ground. But as they came nearer, he saw they were alive machines that crawled on dozens of jointed legs, their bodies glowing from inside with molten light. Wherever they touched the earth, the soil blackened and curled away, turning to glass. The burners, Kara said quietly. Evan's gut tightened. There were more than he could count. Kara handed him a small round device. Throw this at their legs. It will break the joints. He looked at it, then at her. And if it doesn't? She met his eyes. Then we burn with the land. The burners reached the edge of the fields. The nearest one slammed its legs into the ground, sending a shockwave through the soil. Dry stalks snapped. The air filled with the smell of smoke. Evan fired his rifle, the bullet striking one of the machine's glowing joints. It staggered but didn't fall. Kara darted forward, moving faster than he thought possible. She hurled the device at its base. It exploded in a burst of blue light, tearing through the metal. The machine collapsed, legs twitching. But more were coming. Evan and Kara fought side by side. He shot at the smaller ones that skittered between the giants, while she used her alien weapon to slice through their legs. Each time one fell, another took its place. Then a burner broke through the fence and lurched toward the barn. Smoke and sparks poured from its core. My children, Kara cried, sprinting toward it. Evan didn't think he ran after her. Together, they attacked the machine, Evan firing at its head while Kara drove her blade deep into its glowing chest. The machine shuddered and collapsed, barely missing the barn. The fight dragged on, but they were losing ground. Evan's rifle was almost empty. Kara's strikes were slower now, her breathing ragged. Evan's mind raced. They couldn't kill them all. They needed help. He remembered the old distress beacon buried in the shed, a relic from his soldier days. Cover me, he shouted. Kara didn't ask why. She stood her ground, cutting down to smaller burners. As Evan sprinted to the shed, he tore the tarp off the beacon, slammed the power cell in, and hit the activation switch. A sharp, piercing signal burst into the sky. He could only hope the human outpost, 50 miles away, still listened to this frequency. Minutes later, shapes appeared in the sky, human dropships, engines roaring. Soldiers poured out, opening fire with heavy weapons. The burners turned, sensing the new threat. With humans and Kara's alien skill together, the tide turned. One by one, the burners fell, their molten bodies cooling into twisted lumps of black metal. When the last one collapsed, the fields were scarred and smoking, but still standing. Evan sat on the ground, chest heaving. Kara stood nearby, a long cut across her arm, watching the soldiers. She expected their guns to turn on her, but instead, one soldier lowered his weapon and gave a short nod. Looks like we had the same enemy today. Kara's shoulders eased, just slightly. Later, as the sun dipped low, Evan stood beside her. The land was damaged, but not dead. Together, they could rebuild it. Maybe, Evan said, looking at her and the children. Feeding the hungry was the smartest harvest I ever planted. Kara gave a small smile. And maybe trusting a human was the bravest seed I ever sowed. The wind carried away the smoke, and for the first time in years, the air smelled like life again.